Welcome to all of you out there. Welcome to a new video about the Venus retrograde with me, Veerle. And this is in general what the Venus retrograde in Aries and in Pisces is all about. And then I'm going to have a look for all the 12 signs, where this is happening in your chart. I mean, where Aries is, where the area of life of Pisces is, because they're going to go retrograde in those two signs. And so it actually is about two areas of our lives, not one area. Now, first of all, thank you for being here again, and thank you for all the good comments, and I appreciate all the readings that you're ordering, the donations that you've been giving. More. Keep on going. This gives me energy to keep on going and growing this channel. Let's do that. Let's do this together, right? So, what is this Venus retrograde all about? Well, it's one of those times again. Every approximately 2 years, we have this happening that Venus goes, as it seems, backwards. Now, even not considering the sign, what does that mean? What is the interpretation in astrology of a Venus retrograde? It's very simple. It's a reassessing of Venusian things. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a very natural thing because every now and then, when we experience life, it's not that sometimes we love something. Venus is what we like and what we value. What we value as a 10-year-old. It might not be the same what we value as a 20-year-old. What we value in a relationship, for instance, when we are in our 20s, we can value partying, we can value having a good time, we are maybe not valuing that much marriage or long-term commitment, but when we get a baby, the Venus might the value turn into something that new. And it's not that the past was bad or anything, it's just we evolve. And then we might value long-term commitment, a deepening of the relationship, rather than, going out every weekend and partying till 6 o'clock in the morning. Again, not the one is bad and the other one is good. It's just a shift of our values. That is what's happening with Venus retrograde. We are naturally, you could say, because we can go against nature if we want to. I would not recommend it because it's when you are in the flow, things go, you manifest easier. Let's put it that way. But it's a typical time of, reassessing something. And whether that is in your 7th house happening, that's going to be reassessment of a relation or of a romantic relationship or a business relationship. Maybe this is happening in your 2nd house. You are reassessing your own value, your own worth, and maybe it's happening in the 10th house. You're reevaluating job, and it's really about, is it still good for me? It's a very internal process, by the way. That's why I like Venus retrogrades so much, because it's about going within. So a lot of people think, oh, the Venus retrograde, this is about a loved one or an ex coming back and knocking at my door and I don't like it, and that's the Venus retrograde. For some people that might be true. Some people, when they have that in the 7th house, when it is, some other stuff going on as well, that an ex might come back, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's so much more. It's not just love. It's actually what we love about our life. And it's about the joy. Venus represents love. It represents having a good time. It represents peace. It represents beauty. It represents fairness. And we are all going to re-examine that. We are all going to say, oh, is this still working for me? And this is not about saying this is a good person or a bad person, or a good thing or a bad thing, or re-examining or reassessing. I'm using this computer. Is this computer still the good computer for me? Maybe you're having this in your 2nd house, for instance. It's nothing more and nothing less. It's about reassessing. And you decide what you're going to do. So you decide like, oh yeah, this is a good thing or this is a bad thing. This is not, by the way, about what other people think, what other people say to you. It's about a reflect, and that's why it's so interesting. It's an inner reflection of, for instance, this is happening in your third house, the house of siblings, the house of neighbors. Am I giving more to my neighbors or to my siblings than I'm receiving back? You see, it's about Venus wants equality. You know, it rules Libra, Venus, and it also rules Taurus. Taurus is about the five senses, and you know, you want the good food, the good wines, and so on, and beautiful quality products and whatnot. But you also want the equality in relationships, the fairness, the giving and the take, and the balance of that in a natural way. And that is what it is, the Venus retrograde. And because it goes Venus retrograde in a certain area of our lives, it's an invitation. It's an invitation for us to re-examine something that probably 9 out of 10 times is not in a balance anymore, is not or demands our attention and our focus. So again, be a bit aware that you make the difference, right? Astrology is not to, of course, when I do these monthly horoscopes and so on, I give some examples, but I'm very careful with giving these examples because a lot of people, they put these examples in their head. And when you believe those things, much more chances that they're going to come out. That's why I always try to make it the forecast that I'm doing, which is more like an energy forecast and not what really is going to happen, because you make things happen. You, together with the state that you are in, don't forget that, the state that you are in. So you better do now this exercise of reevaluating something in your own particular way. And this is not a good thing or a bad thing. A Venus retrograde is not good or bad. It is what it is, but we can make it extremely good into, and especially because it's in Aries, into something that is for the future more new, more fresh, more exciting, more bold, more fierce, more courageous. That's what this retrograde is about. So we know that there's some work to do. There's some inner reflection to do. And that doesn't harm anyone, does it? And we can use that time for that inner reflection. And when then the Venus goes direct again, we can implement the new, what we think is our new value. We can show that and we can express that. Now, what about these Venus retrogrades? Let's do very quickly the technical stuff. You know, it's in Aries and in Pisces. And then what does it mean being in Aries and in Pisces? What does it mean? And the specifics of that. What does it mean that we have a very Neptunian kind of Venus retrograde in Pisces? And even a bit Saturnial. What does that mean? But first, the technicalities. Now, for the nerdy ones amongst us, Venus retrograde will stand still, so it seems, at 10 degrees of Aries on around about the 2nd of March, the 1st, the 2nd of March. Then it goes back towards, 9 degrees, 8 degrees, and so on, up until the 27th of March, where it's going to shift into Pisces again, the sign before Aries. So then it will be 29 degrees of Pisces, 28, and so on. On the 13th of April, Venus goes direct again at 24 degrees of Pisces. So it will stay there in Pisces, but now it goes direct. And then around and about the last day of April and the first day of May, it's going to be back in Aries at 0 degrees of Aries. The shadow period already started on the 28th of January, when we had Venus at 24 degrees of Pisces. It's out of its shadow on the 16th of May at 10 degrees of Aries. Now, that's the nitty-gritty of this whole cycle. So it's a couple of months, right? It's March, April, and May, that we're gonna, this is the cycle, okay? Now, what do I mean by this? So we see that we're gonna have Venus in Aries, it's gonna tiptoe back into the last degrees of Pisces up until 24 degrees, and then it goes back into Aries. So it's Aries, Pisces, Aries. What does it mean? It means that the Venus retrograde is, particularly now as I'm recording this on the 10th of February, Venus is already in Aries, and it's all Aries, Aries, Aries in March. And it's all about reassessing something about our existence. I talked about this in the monthly horoscopes already. If you haven't done already, check out the monthly horoscopes. Because this Venus in Aries, when we have Venus in Aries, this is about valuing. What do we value? We value new things. We value things that are a bit bold. We value action, because this is all ruled by Mars. And guess where Mars is? It's still retrograde, right? Now in February. But in March, it's going to be direct in the sign of Cancer. So things are going forwards in March when it comes to our actions. But as I said, so there's still that connection between emotions, because Moon is still in Aries, and between that Venus in Aries. So we have an opportunity to value something fresh, to value something new, to value something that we like. Again, it's a bit selfish, you could say, but in a healthy way, of course, right? It's not about wanting things and then putting down other people or harming others. No, it's about wanting something that is really, really authentic, that is really, really honest. Venus and Aries, Venus and Aries. Look at people who have natally Venus and Aries and how they operate, right? So for a woman, they are definitely tomboys. They're definitely, people who are like female DJs, for instance, they have Aries energy, like a Moon or a Venus in Aries. They kind of, it's not, people think, oh, Venus in Aries is bad because it's in its detriment. No, it's just alternative. It's an alternative way of expressing Venus. So it's good for us to look at that part in our life where Aries is and to freshen that up, to bring new energy in it, to excite it, to, the good side of Aries, to excite it, to bring energy, to be bold, to be courageous. Now, the bad side or the challenge will be to trust, because Aries wants to go, 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 and it forgets all the rest. It's a bit like, it's very much in the moment, Aries. Aries is represented by the child as well, you could say, or, actually Leo is represented by the child, but Aries is a very kind of raw energy almost, raw fire. I love it. I want to jump in the water because it's hot outside. And the child jumps into the water, but it forgets that the cell phone is in their pocket. It's that kind of energy. It's not good or bad, but it has its challenge for sure, right? So we all want to freshen up something. That's for sure. We all will want, because it's in Aries, we all will want some more boldness, something more for ourselves, like, for instance, when a housewife with 3 kids has this in let's say in the 11th house happening, this Venus retrograde, she might be reassessing that her goals in her life, right? So so it's really that boldness and that novelty and that pioneering energy, and it's associated also with action, and because it's in Aries after all. So there's definitely something there that we want to do in an honest way as well. Because Aries is what you see is what you get. It's very direct, and that has a good side, but it also has not always a good side, right? Because always telling your truth, a lot of people, it kind of is a bit in the side of giving something up when it comes to connections, right? Because when we are too selfish, so let's say the extreme way, which is not the best way, of Venus in Aries is it's all me, 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 me. And then, of course, people are not going to like that. So it's going to be a bit more difficult to connect. But all in all, this is a very fresh energy. But then we are thinking about it, wanting some actions there. But still, as I'm recording this now on the 10th of February, Mars is the ruler of this Venus in Aries, is going backwards. So it's still not the time to really take actions, right? So Venus loves action and it loves that, but it's really not the time yet because the dispositor of this Venus in Aries is going backwards. So that might be a bit frustrating. But on the other hand, then it shifts into Pisces, which is a totally different thing. So it's almost like we're tiptoeing into something that is new, that is fresh. And then we are on the 27th of March, up until, when was it? Up until the end of April, it's going to be in Pisces. So, and that Piscean energy is a very, very necessary energy that we are going through in order to that newness and that freshness that we value more now, in order to make that happen. So when Venus goes direct in Aries, which is at the end of April and the beginning of May, we go full force. We go full force. Mars is going already direct as from the 23rd of February. We have the ruler of it, and it's going to be then in Leo. We are all fired up then. But there's something that needs to be done first and foremost. First, recognizing that you want something fresh and new. But at the same time, there is some healing work that needs to be done. It's very simple. Venus in Pisces is the healer. You know, when someone has Venus in Pisces or Venus in the 12th house, they often are like nurses or people who are super empathic, people who are in the artistic world, and so on and so on. So it's almost as if like, yeah, we see something coming up that we want now that is more bold, but there's some healing work to do on ourselves. We need to lift, dissolve Pisces, end the cycle, and heal. And then we can go for the newness. You know, it makes me think a lot about people who kind of say to or come to for a reading and they have a blockage. They have a blockage in some area of our lives. And it's to the astrologer, to the blockages may seem coming from another person, you know, but it all boils down to that we are the blockage, that we are the solution, that it comes from within and that we express that and that it is reflected in our external world. And you can do, so someone can have the idea of, I want that person, for instance, you know, that specific person. I want that specific person in my life, and I did everything. You know, a person comes to me and says, I did everything, and this and that, and this and that. And you see this evolution here of the Venusian retrograde and so on. What would you advise? It would be very simple. It would be go within, let go of the attachment, and go deeper. You know, Venus in the 12th house, or Venus in Pisces, is almost about contemplating and going within very deep to know exactly why do you want this person. For instance, I'm giving this example. It is not always about that, but I'm just giving it as an example. Why do I really want to have this person? Oh, is it because out of validation, because a person like that is going to give you validation, and maybe you need some wounding, healing around. You don't need anyone to validate you need to validate yourself, you know, something like that. Or maybe someone is working so hard and not getting the promotion. Right? Maybe someone is doing everything, and they do 10 things harder and they are late at the office and they do this and they do that. And the other one who's just going through the office, doing what they just need to do, they get the promotion and they don't. What's going on? That Venus in Pisces area and that pocket of time when Venus is in Pisces between 27th of March and the end of April, it's time to contemplate. Why is this happening? Has this something to do with me? And I don't want to do this in a way like guilt tripping and no. It's about what am I expressing here? What do I need to work on myself in order for it to, I can do so much more in actions and whatnot, but it's now about not doing actions. It's this yin energy. It's like maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe because I'm still, let's give the example of the woman or the man who is working so much and they're not recognized for it. They say, I'm good. But I think of myself, I'm good. And I'm not really getting the recognition. Well, someone with a very good value system and know their worth and is secure in their worth, what will they do? Exactly. They will say, bye-bye, company. I'm the prize here. I know my worth. I'm going to another one. Or reevaluating, they're getting being very honest with yourself is so crucial with Venus in Aries already. But in Pisces is about contemplating about it. Oh yes, maybe this other person, he's got an extra skill that I don't have. So they kind of value that skill very high. And actually, I want to go for that skill as well. So I'm going to learn the skill. And that's what you're going to do with the Venus retrograde. You're going to plan those actions that you're going to go for it. Maybe it's a course in talking Spanish because your colleague talks Spanish and gets all the Spanish customers, and it has a more sales figure that is going up, skyrocketing, and maybe that is what's going on. So you see, it's being very honest with yourself. It's not blaming others because that's not going to help. It's not like, oh, poor me. That's the challenging side of Venus and Pisces. Watch out for that because you're not going to get anywhere when you're doing that. You're not going to get anywhere. You can do that, of course, in the moment when you're feeling very, what's going on, but don't kind of get stuck in that energy because you're not going to get anywhere. And of course, we want to get somewhere. We want to get where Venus in Aries is, and we want to get that freshness and that newness and that joy and that enthusiasm. What Venus in Aries is all about. It's the enthusiastic person. People who've got Venus in Aries, my goodness me, they are so enthusiastic. I love it. And, tap into those energies because they are available for us now. So heal that part of you. Go within. That's what Venus at retrograde in Pisces will be all about. Go within and isolate yourself if you have to, because don't get influenced by other people, what other people say. And it's not because they're bad or whatever, but it's you who makes the choice and the decision of, I like this or I don't like this. I'm not getting this promotion in this company. Is it worth it to stay or not? Yes, it is worth it because I want to learn that new language and I might get the promotion next year. Go for it, girl or boy. If not, you focus on the shift. You focus on getting out of that company there. You will have to give up something. And is that okay with you? Then certainly go for it. So it's a beautiful energy when Venus is in Pisces. Why? Because it's connected, as I said in the monthly horoscopes, to Neptune and the North Node. And to Saturn as well, but more to Neptune and the North Node, because so Venus, what do I mean by that? Venus, whilst it is in Pisces, it's gonna get towards Neptune, the North Node, and also Saturn. So the first time that let's talk about Saturn maybe first, because that's not so much to talk about, because Venus and Saturn all are going to get together. So that means a conjunction on the 8th of April at 25 degrees of Pisces. So on the 8th, the beginning of April, 8th of April, Venus and Saturn are coming together. We already have that energy. It's going to be the second time. And when did we have that energy? At 19th of January. We already had Venus with Saturn on 16 degrees of Pisces. So this is a repetition of an energy we already had. And what is Venus Saturn? Venus and Saturn is again about thinking about manifesting something. What do I want to manifest? And Venus Saturn also, what am I lacking? What am I lacking in my life at this particular moment? Because making the, how do you say that? The assessment of this is what I lack in my life today. It's then you can accept that situation and then you can shift it. If you don't really know that you're lacking it, if it's unconscious, then it will not shift. So the Venus Saturn is a good thing for, it's a reality test. Let's put it that way. So we're going to have that again around the 8th of April. But for the other stuff, the Venus will be with Neptune and with the North Node. Venus and Neptune is about the letting go. Let's use that energy to shift, to let go of patterns that are no longer suiting us, of jobs that are no longer suiting us, of people that are not good in our lives. Let's distinguish that during this Venus retrograde. Let's track it, so to speak, and then letting go of it if we want to. The North Node represents our future, destiny, faith. So there is some faith energy involved with it as well. There is some energy of it has to be like that. It's karmic. It's ready. It's sitting there. Whenever Venus is meeting Neptune, whenever Venus is meeting the North Node, this means relationships that are going to be very important for our future. So very interesting energy. Now on the 2nd of February, we already had Venus and the North Node and Neptune all together at 28 degrees of Pisces. The last week of March is going to be, this is a bit technical stuff, to the Venus at 29 degrees of Pisces conjuncting with Neptune. That's the 28th of March, around and about. Then around about the 1st of April, Venus conjoining with Neptune, with the North Node at 27 degrees of Pisces. So that last week of March is a lot about this energy of letting go, of faith, and when you let go, new people come in. When you let go of a situation, you attract new energy. Then the last week of April, the same. The 24th of April, Venus is going to conjoin with the North Node again, but now at 26 degrees of Pisces. And Venus is going to join Neptune again, but now in Aries at 2 degrees of Aries, 1 degree of Aries on the 2nd of May. So if this is too complex, don't listen to it. But I'm a lot of people are watching this channel. Some people don't know a lot about astrology, others do. So I want to, kind of give that information. But in a nutshell, again, this is about there's something that needs to be resolved. There's something that needs to be let go of before we can go for that new Aries, Venus and Aries stuff that is so exciting for us. And that is specific to this Venus retrograde. We can say, yeah, the last time Venus was retrograde in Aries, that was in 20,000, blah, 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 blah. But then I don't want to even, I know when it was, but I don't want to say it to you because then you're going to think that it's going to be the same as Venus retrograde in that year. It's not, because the circumstances are different, you are different, I'm different, everything's different. But it's the same flavor as something bold that you want in your life, that you want to reassess in a fresh way. But there's some healing work that needs to be done. Let's get to it for the 12 signs. Very shortly, I'm going to say this is Aries and this is Pisces. For Aries, of course, watch the whole intro. The whole intro is for you. Specifically, the Aries people who've got planets around 9 to 10 degrees are going to feel this because guess what? In March, we're also going to have a Mercury retrograde. Watch the monthly horoscope of March if you want to know more about it. But it's around the same degree. So there's a lot here for you shifting. You are reassessing it's very simple what you're reassessing your life path. Your life path, because the first house of Aries, and of course, if it's your sun, it has to do more with your identity, with your conscious level, with what you identify yourself with, that you're reassessing. If it's the moon, it's more your emotional life, what you are attached to now, or new attachments, right? And even if it's on your Venus, for instance, that this Venus retrograde in Aries is all happening, this is about love. This is about the love for you and having a consequence when you reassess it towards others. So there's definitely you going through a rebirth, you could say. Absolutely. And I love it because Venus in your sign, it is a very beautiful thing. I know that people think a lot about, doing stuff on their body and whatnot, Venusian, like plastic surgery and so on. There's a lot to talk about that because the retrograde, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. The thing to remember here is that if you already had some plastic surgery done and now you're going to redo the same spot when the Venus is retrograde, it's actually a good thing. If you're going to do this on whatever it is and the Venus goes backwards, yes, it can mean that you're not going to like it. That's a bit in a nutshell for, people who want to shift something on their looks. The same with just simple haircuts, right? You might not like it. But other than that, the Venus retrograde on a more deeper level is about how do you value yourself? And it's about all the other houses because it has a knock-on effect on your relationship with yourself. It has a knock-on effect if you reevaluate that. If you say, for instance, what do I like about myself? What is not so good about myself at this moment that is not really good for myself? Maybe with Venus in Aries, maybe what it is that you play maybe too much the victim. Let's put it out. You say to yourself, well, I'm always like feeling that I have no power. And I have to change that. So you're changing that because you know now and you're going to change that or you're planning to do that. But already that vibration, the people that you're very close to, there's going to change something with them as well, right? They're going to say now, like, oh, they don't need me anymore because, you were a bit victimizing yourself maybe. Again, I'm not saying that that is the case for you, but just giving an example. Let's say another example. You're always working hard. I have to work hard to get the money. Like in the song of Donna Summer, I work hard for the money. I have to work all hard. And now you're reassessing this and you're saying, I don't. It's a mind. It's something that I think that I don't value that anymore. So you're shifting this. You see, and because of your shift that of how you are going to present yourself, right, on the most mundane level, it's your looks, but on a deeper level, it's your persona, it's going to shift all the rest. And for the better. Let's do it for the better, right? So what needs to be healed? Because remember, this Venus is first going to tiptoe also in Pisces, in your 12th house. Well, this means that some cycles need to go. Some talking about blind spots, talking about almost like systems that your mind is running on that need to be deleted. There are some programs in your head that need to be deleted, let's put it that way, that aren't even your programs in the first place. So that could be a pattern of ancestry, right, that is really no good for you anymore. Because maybe you are coming from a background where you always have to work hard and so on and so on. So letting go of that will help you when Venus is in the first house. Like, hey, I'm going to do a little bit more what I enjoy. Thank you very much, whether you like it or not. So it's about when you let go of that, it's going to be easier for you to be in that new state. That's what this is all about. Of course, on another level, Venus in the 12th house, it is actually already contemplating and what I was talking about in the intro. So watch the intro because this is literally for you happening. Venus in the 12th house, Venus in Pisces. So this is about you're isolating yourself a little bit more. It could mean that you feel also a little bit more, with Venus in the 12th, a little bit more alone, a little bit more like, or love that you have for someone and it's one-sided. That could be happening as well. That has to let go of first in order for you to put some more emphasis on you. So it could mean that around that time that you're in that healing mode. Anyway, Taurians, you have Venus in the 12th house when it's in Aries, and it's going to tiptoe back in Pisces in the 11th house. So what is this all about? Let's start for you with the Venus in the 12th house, because that's now happening, Venus in Aries. Now, Venus in the 12th house in Aries is already a time of contemplating. This is when you probably will feel a little bit more isolated or a bit more alone. In a good way, use this time to go back to you, because that's what Venus in the 12th house wants you to do, to go back to yourself. It can also mean that you are pondering around love and you're not showing that. So you're thinking about the concept of love, the things that you love, the people that you love, and you are reevaluating. There could be some loneliness here as well. For instance, for some of you, this will be that the love that you feel for someone, that is one-sided. It is what it is. And you do what you want. What are you going to do about it? And it's about thinking about this. And it's about not trying to change something outside of you, but yourself. And not bringing yourself too much down, but getting in touch more with who you are. Maybe it's the best that this person is not responding, because is this person your person? That is the question, right? So it's a very good time for you to get in touch with yourself again. And certainly if you've lost that. And if you say, but I don't know who I am anymore, well, this is your perfect timing. I don't know what I want anymore. This is your perfect timing to get within, to contemplate, to do some, meditation or some time alone, so that you're not getting distracted by other people and their way of thinking and their way of what they value. Now, the healing work that's going to help you for that is when Venus goes into Pisces. And that will be in the 11th house. So what's going to help you is to revisit your goals. Do you still have goals in your life? And are the goals that you have in your life good goals? For you, I mean. Do you want to reassess them? Do you want them to be different goals? It's also the house of friends. Maybe it's a good time to rekindle some friendships, to put a little bit more energy there, so that they help you with the healing process. They can help you with that. Whatever it is that you feel that is not enough. And actually, is it true that it's not enough? I mean, you're always whole. And it's a very deep energy here with that Venus in the 12th house. And when it goes back into that 12th house, it's a lot about enjoying the fact that you can go within and not being so afraid of it. So yes, big shifts for you Taurians people for sure, because Venus is your ruler. So you're going to feel this a lot. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So this is definitely about what is your truth, what is your deep inner truth, and how can I express it. Geminis, this is in the 11th house when it's in Aries, the Venus there, and then it goes back into the 10th house and then again in the 11th. So let's start with the 11th house with the Venus retrograde in Aries, which is so nice for you because it sextiles your energy, which means it's good energy flow. And typically, when I see Venus retrograde in the 11th house, typically, it is that people kind of revisit old friends, rekindle with friends, or they reassess their friendships. So some of them, they go, new ones getting in, but the new ones will get in when Venus goes direct. which is more towards the end of April, beginning of May. Also, your goals. Old goals that need to go. Maybe you're so fixated on a goal that isn't even your goal anymore. Maybe it was a goal of a friend even. And you let go of that and you are ready for some new goals. It is also very much, I've seen it many times, if you have your own business, an opportunity to get more business, to get more money, because it's a money house. It's the second house from the 10th house. So you could be doing things around your business and implementing that at the end of April, and boom, you're getting way more energy with people. You're getting way more money as well. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful energy. Now, it tiptoes back in the 10th house when it's in Pisces. So it's almost like you need to let go and to dissolve something that you're doing now in the work area. Because the 10th house is a lot about people's work and career. So there's something that is no longer, the karmic cycle has ended. There's a part of you that doesn't want to do that anymore. It can be, I think it's more a part of the job. It could be for some of you also the whole job. You let go of that and boom, Venus in the 11th. Maybe you're, a good example is just an example, by the way. It doesn't have to be your truth, but can mean like, yeah, I'm leaving the job that I'm doing, the 9-to-5 job, and I'm starting my own business. You know, it can be something like that. On another level, it's social status. So being divorced, being married, there's a shift there first that needs to be done. And then you can go for those goals and those friends and those lovely energy stuff for the future. On another level also, it's parents. So there could be something that is shifting and around your attitude towards parents or your connection with your parents. But all in all, there's very exciting new stuff going on for you in the area of your goals and like-minded people, and it's a very positive house, the 11th house. Cancerians, this is happening for you in a square to Aries energy, and it's happening in your 10th house, the top of your horoscope, and then it goes back into the 9th house in Pisces. So what does it mean for a lot of you Cancerians? This is about your career. The Venus retrograde in the 10th house. There is a reassessment. It's a good time for you. You don't have to do it, but it's a good time for you to reassess. Oh, the thing that I'm doing in the career, is that a good thing? Do I still like what I do? When it comes to expressing myself in the world, the energy that I'm exuding. Maybe you're not having a career, but just your energy that you're exuding in society. Is that what I want to exude? And there's a shift. So lots of you Cancerians, particularly if you have planets around 9 to 10 degrees of Cancer, will shift their career, will shift parts of the career or the whole career in itself. Whatever it is, it has to do with purpose, and it has to do with whether you want to kind of be showing in the world. The energy there. There's something bold that you want to do. There's something new, fresh, pioneering. Can be a small part, that a project that you want to do and that you've never done before. But what needs to happen first is that 9th house, where Pisces is, where Venus is going to go retrograde as well. And Venus, when it's in Pisces, for you, that's a good thing because it's a water sign, and you are a water sign as well. So the 9th house is your belief system. So it's, I said it in the monthly horoscopes as well. It's a belief system that is no longer running good for you, that the quicker you let go of it, the better you are ready for the go for it and the enthusiasm that you will feel for work or for career or for, you know, what you want to do in life in general, the energy that you want to exude. So the more you're gonna, the 9th house is also travel, so it's a good time during when Venus is in Pisces, so the 27th of March up until the end of April, to go on a trip, or to go back to a country that you already visited or a state, because it's a Venus retrograde. going on there, and the letting go of that. It can also have to do with love, because Venus in the ninth is love abroad. So there's also something that needs to be resolved there first before you can go on with your life. Leos, this is the ninth house. So all of this fresh new energy in the ninth house when Venus is there in Aries, and then it tiptoes back into your eighth house. What is this all about? Well, when Venus is now in Aries in your ninth house, this is actually very beautiful. Why? Because Aries is a fire sign. You are a fire sign. That goes well with each other. So this is all about Venus in the ninth house is foreign lands, right? So you could be traveling back to a country that you already abroad that you already visited. You can go back to a connection, a love connection, Venus in the ninth of abroad, and rekindle that. You could fall in love abroad, Venus in the ninth house, and then the backwards and the forwards. It's a typical thing of, oh, this is new, you're reassessing, which is so normal. When people fall in love, they reassess every now and then. Why? Because they don't know the person yet, right? Well, very much. They don't know them very much. Could also mean you going back to studies, you going back to it's very good for editing. It's very good for going back to something of publishment, and that you're reassessing that study, spirituality, belief system. Maybe you want to have that new belief system. Maybe you always believed in the fact that all men are bad, and you want to get rid of that belief system. Or all women are always after my money, and you want to get back. You want to, because you want something new in your life, you know that belief system is where it all starts, so you want to get rid of that belief system, and so on. So when you have decided that, Venus goes into your eighth house, and that is where this energy of letting go is. So Venus in the eighth house, first is the house of intimacy. It's the house of deep connection with someone. So body, mind, and soul, that is, it's not just the sexuality, it's deeper. You know, it's under the skin, or how do you say that? And so Venus in the eighth house is a transformation of that. So it depends on your story. Maybe you are having a very bad relationship, and Venus in the eighth house transformation. It's the end of that. And then you can go towards a new belief system when Venus goes back into Aries, which will be at the end of April. So on another level, because the eighth house, it's also a money house. And it's the money of others, right? It's the money of, so what I've seen a lot with the Venus in the eighth house and that letting go and whatnot, is that there is some release to do around maybe taxes, inheritances. And it's, Venus in the eighth house is in itself not bad for attracting money. Not at all. But with this energy, it's more about letting go. And the cycle, it's a letting go of it. It's a letting go of you needing other people's money, for instance, to be happy, and that you go towards a new belief system. But it definitely is when you're in a situation where you have been, waiting for money to come back to you because of a loan or because of someone, or an investment, a return on investment and all of that. By just by detaching, it can come in. That's that energy. Virgos, this is a lot for you about relationships, and but it starts in your eighth house, this Venus retrograde in Aries, and then it tiptoes into your seventh house. So Venus retrograde in the eighth house is you want to do something fresh in that house. You want to do something new. And the eighth house is the house of endings and new beginnings anyways. So, but it's very fiery. So it's like the drive that you feel to attract money in a way that has to do more with the resources of other people. So there could be something, for instance, that because it's a money house and it's not about your money, it's the money of your clients, your spouse, taxes, inheritances, and whatnot. So there could be something happening that has to do with attracting more money, for sure. It's a good thing, Venus in the 8th, to attracting more money, not so much from your own business, for instance, but from tax inheritances, tax returns, return on investments, and so on and so on. There's maybe a shift in the income of your spouse, and that is what's going on. So yes, I've seen it many times that people are having windfalls with Venus in the 8th house, and they say like, I didn't have to do anything for it. It's very strange. But sometimes that is exactly what it is. You know, the 8th house is a very yin house. It's the house of Scorpio. And that is a feminine sign that is rather about being magnetic rather than actively really pursuing something and, hustling for the money, for instance, for your own business. No, it's like it's owned to you, that Venus there. It's owned to you. And so I hope for a lot of you Virgos, lots of money is coming back to you in a way. That's one possibility. On another level, Venus in the 8th, it's about a transformation of a relationship. I've seen it many times. You go on a different level, for better or for worse. Specifically and especially as well, because Venus also goes back into Pisces at the end of March up until the end of April. So that means reevaluation of your romantic relationship anyways. It can also mean a business partnership. Maybe you are reviewing that, a business partnership. But whatever it is, you're reassessing. And so it can go either way. Maybe you're saying like, oh, I've not, maybe you are already in a good relationship. And now when the Venus goes retrograde in your 7th house, you're saying, they are such an asset in my life, that kind of thing. And that when Venus goes then direct again, and then into that 8th house, the intimacy even deepens. That's a beautiful thing. But for some Virgos, if you already know my relationship is not good, my relationship is bad, I've done everything, this could be the time that with the Venus retrograde in your 7th house, you're releasing it. Absolutely. So it could mean new love coming in. It could mean also, it can also mean, a change in your existing relationships. No matter what you are having now at this particular moment as you are watching this video, that's your state now. Well, the energy stays the same, right? It's an energy of reassessment. So very beautiful for Virgos. And especially I like it as well with that Venus in the 8th house, that in a challenging way, Venus in the 8th house is secret affairs. But I hope, I'm not judging here, but I hope that you understand that part of yourself as well, because Venus in Aries wants to be very bold and loud, and it's in a house that it cannot do that. So I think that a lot of Virgos, where there is stuff that was not above board, from their, specifically I'm talking now to the people, the Virgos that are in a relationship, but also the Virgos who are not in a relationship. There might be someone that they are attracted to, Venus in the 8th house. And let's say you're single. You're attracted to someone who's not single. I mean, it happens all the time. It's not always like, yes, I stop a relationship and then I start a new one. I mean, that's beautiful, but it's not always like that. So let's say that you've fallen in love. I mean, it can happen, right? And Venus is in the 8th house, and that represents that struggle that you're feeling, that, you're doing the wrong thing. Am I going to go into this and with someone that is not single, and live with that fear of, Ooh, they might be doing that one day to me as well. It's that kind of energy. And then Venus goes into the seventh house and you realize more what you want, what you don't want. And you let go of what you don't want in a relationship. And then off you go, Venus in the eighth house again. You are healed, you are cleared, and you can go more intimate with a specific person in a very honest way. Things like that. Librans, this is relationships. Of course, Venus is your ruler. This is so important for you. Especially if you have planet around 10 degrees of Libra, you're going to feel this very strongly. But all Libras will feel it. This starts with Venus retrograde in your seventh house, and then it tiptoes back into your sixth house. So what is happening here for you with Venus in the seventh house? This is a reassessment of, if you're in a relationship, the relationship. It's nothing more, nothing less. And don't freak out here. It's about, do I like them still? Are they valuable? If you say, yeah, but I'm in a valuable relationship and yeah, it feels good, well, you're going to even like it even more. And that's what this is all about. It's going to deepen your relationship. But for some of you, it will be, I'm not content. I want to connect with them. Venus in the seventh. I want the connection. I still want it. But there's something that needs to be reassessed here. There's no equality here. What do I have to do here? And it goes back towards your sixth house, right? So it has to do also with your lifestyle. Letting go of a certain part of your lifestyle that is no longer good for you. Letting go of a certain thing that you do with your body or your mind that is not really healthy. To let go of that. The Venus and the Neptune and the North are all in the sixth house. Or letting go of a job even that is really not good for you, or connections there with your employees if you have them. It's also the sixth house. So it's about healing that stuff, maybe physically, maybe mentally, or some routine that you're doing that is not good for you. When you're doing that, you're way more ready for tackle an improvement, a new relationship. If you're single, for instance, you do the sixth house stuff of the healing and whatnot, and you're going to attract someone who's reflecting that in, Venus in the seventh house, in a very healthy, energetic person, handsome or pretty, whatever. Definitely for you, possibility for romance. Definitely. Coming back, exes is possible for you. Yes, but again, if you say, Veerle, I don't want them to come back, then you've got that power to shut the door or not open the door. I mean, you don't have to, right? Especially if these people have been very bad for you or toxic or whatever, and you did so much work to create better boundaries and you're just not open, period. And it's just a little bit of a test of how strong your boundaries are. Nothing more, nothing less, but definitely a possibility for romance. Scorpios, this is starting in your sixth house, the Venus retrograde in Aries, and then going back into your fifth house when it is in Pisces. Now, first in Aries, the sixth house, there is something that you want to do new with your lifestyle. So that could be a better job for you, whatever better means for you. For some of you, it will mean working more. For others, working less, whatever. It's shifting something, a bad habit that you're doing that you want to get rid of. And you want to get into a better habit. Ideal for that. So jobs, lifestyle, the way that you do your day-to-day routines. There is something new that you can do here by just doing something that is more positive for you, for your mental health, for your physical health. It's going to tiptoe back into the fifth house, which is a good thing for you because you're a Scorpio, you're a water sign. And when this Venus in Pisces is, that's also a water sign. So there can be here it's a love house. It's a romantic house. So that could be for you, you're one of them, that a romance could come back. And again, if you say, no, Veerle, no, well, you just shut the door. You've got that power, right? That was a toxic relationship. You were not feeling happy. They were not feeling happy. Don't open the door. It's as simple as that. You don't have to relive that again. And that is then if you also say, but why this is happening? Well, to strengthen that, to know your boundaries. But for many people, this is an encounter with a new relationship. This is a very romantic energy, very fated, romantic, empathic, soul connection. Absolutely. And it's the letting go, because it's Pisces and healing, the letting go of your attitude towards love that is toxic, your attitude towards love that is not good for you. Again, that will depend on who you are. For some of you, it will be like, oh, I always sacrifice. Scorpios, it's not only the Pisces, but also the Scorpios that sometimes sacrifice themselves. Maybe you're going to see that now, that, oh, I don't need to do that. It's not a good thing. I'm not going to do that anymore. And then you're getting healthier mentally, physically, and so on. So it's a beautiful thing for the Scorpios. Can also mean something, if it's not love, the fifth house is your children. There is like a letting go of a cycle, of a stage where your children, so for some of you this could mean, but it's a good energy, so it's not something like, oh, but it's a really good energy. Maybe you have an 18-year-old and they're going to a different city to study, for instance, and that is the letting go. You see? And that gives you like a different lifestyle, and then you have a bit more time to exercise more or whatever it is. On another level, the fifth house is also your projects, your hobbies. So you could redo a hobby, or you could stop with a certain hobby and saying, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm too old for this, too young for this, whatever. So there's shifts happening in that house. It's a beautiful thing here. Sagittarians, this is nice for you, the Venus retrograde in Aries, because you're a fellow fire sign. So the fifth house where this Venus retrograde starts, the fifth house is all about, let's start with love. So it's the love house. Yes, so for you, this could mean new love coming in. Absolutely. And going backwards and forwards, it's a natural thing. When we get to know someone, we first think this and then, oh no, it seems to be something else. It's a normal thing. You cannot know someone in an instant or 1 or 2 days. Even when you know someone 20 years, 30 years, you don't know them fully. So you see, it's a normal thing, this retrograde, if you're falling in love with someone. And with the retrograde simply means that, oh, you didn't know that about this person, and I hope it's going to be for better instead of for worse. Probably it's for most of you, it's going to be for better because it's trining your energy, remember. It's not a square or an opposition. It can also mean a lover coming back. Yeah, but again, it's a trine energy. It's not that kind of lover or an ex or a person that you had a connection with. And it kind of rekindles. But again, don't think like, oh, I don't want that. Again, as I said it to other sides, if you don't want that, you shut the door. But with this energy of a trine, it's really, really possible to rekindle. If it's not a rekindling, if you say, Veerle, I'm not seeing someone coming back here, then it's a new person. And I know what they say about Venus retrograde and meeting someone new. Again, I've seen it so many times. When Venus then goes direct again at the end of April, beginning of May, the establishment of the relationship begins and it becomes stronger and deeper. On another level, as I said, it's the fifth house, it's children. So if you have children, there could be happening something in the life of your child that is Venusian. They can fall in love for the first time, for instance, or there is a connection with them in an easier way. You reassess your connection with your child. It's also a relationship, right? And there is things that you might do different, and that you say, oh yeah, now they're in a different stage. Now I can loosen up a little bit. They're a bit older now, so it's actually to detach myself. It's actually better for them. And that they learn from their own mistakes and so on. And that is the Venus retrograde. On another level, the fifth house is also your hobbies. Your hobbies, the things that you do to enjoy yourself. You could be going back to an old hobby or a new hobby. and or a new way of, you might be saying, look, that was something that I always enjoyed, but now I don't enjoy that so much anymore. I'm going to do something different. Or maybe you're saying, oh, as a child, I love to, maybe you're saying, I love to ski and I only skied when I was a little child. And now I want to take that up. I want to do it again. You know, when the Venus is going direct, or skating, or whatever it is. I'm just giving you this example here. Picking up something of a hobby that is bold, that is, maybe you want to go into the theater. Maybe you want to have some fun and have a hobby where you can express yourself better, and so on and so on. Also, it can mean it's the house of risk taking, right? It's the house of lottery and whatnot. Now, I'm not going to, you know, recommend you to, spend huge amounts of money of gambling. That's not what I'm saying. But hey, maybe you're doing maybe €2 or $2 of a ticket, and you're going to win a lot, right? That is possible with the Venus there in your fifth house, because it's the fifth house of investing and so on. But of course, why am I saying this? I wanna say some lighter stuff here, but normally I'm not talking about gambling. But anyways, things that you love to do, and you have definitely uh, the energy of falling in love again. Especially at the end of April, beginning of May. Wow, it's like you going out there, you enjoying yourself, cafes, restaurants, cinema, you name it. There is such an energy of, I'm going to do some hobbies here, I'm going to have fun, sexuality. It's also Venus in the, well, maybe it's more Mars in the fifth house, but Venus in the fifth house, it's enjoying yourself, right? And it goes into Pisces in the fourth house. So for the end of March and the beginning of up until the end of April. So that means some healing work to do. If you want to do all that lovely stuff out there, being creative also, very, very good for Venus in the fifth house. Being creative, and it's very much heart chakra energy. Now, if you want to have manifestation there, what to do best? Healing. Healing of what? The inner child. It's really, really cheesy, this one, isn't it? But the fourth house is the house of the moon. It's the house of the Cancerian house. It's the house of home, ancestry. So there could be things released here. Patterns with your family members that you are going to reassess. Am I giving more to them? If I'm taking too much of them, it's not always that we are the best givers, but we can take also. I mean, it's human. Sometimes we take too much, we give too much. It's time to reassess here. It's also time to kind of release your history, so to speak, where you're coming from. It's not to say that don't respect your roots, and no, it's actually respecting them a lot, but leaving them as they are. So a great healing thing with all of that, this in Pisces, could be like family constellation, like and even if your parents are not here anymore, it could be like this soothing energy of you releasing, especially the things that weren't yours, that you've almost taken over, of parents and ancestry and whatnot. So if you heal that part of security and not looking for security outside of you, like a home in a certain city, but if you let go of that, you find the security within, which makes you such a strong, confident personality, which is beautiful. Some of you will leave their, will sell their home, for instance, and or that could be, but that's only a small percentage, but that is also possible. Capricorn, this is happening starting in your fourth house. It's important for you because your cardinal sign, Aries, is also cardinal. It squares up to you, so there's tension there when Venus is in Aries. Not so much, not when it's in Pisces, but when it's in Aries, when it starts off in your fourth house. And what that means is that there is a reassessment going on in the deepest part of your chart, which is the fourth house. It's the house of your home, of your family, of your ancestry, literally your home, but also, where you're coming from. It's your emotional setup. And there's a longing to revive that in a new way so that you're more anchored and that you more have the right roots, and that you're more anchored in the sense of security, emotional security, that is. I'm not talking here about emotional security, that you feel safe. Um, and so there's some reassessment there. So for some of you, this can simply mean that your connections with some family members, there's going like this. Maybe you take too much, or maybe you're saying they take too much. So you have an opportunity to kind of balance that more out and to get a new emotional setup that is more responsive instead of reactive. And but it only can improve when you understand yourself better, right? And then you can understand others more easily as well, by understanding yourself, where you are coming from. So it's a very deep thing here, what's happening, especially if you have this around 10 degrees, as I said, then you're really going to feel this. For some of you, this is simply a home that that you want to sell and that you want to change. And for others, with the Venus retrograde here, it can simply be beautifying your home and having thoughts of what you want to redo. Because the fourth house, but it's in the Venusian style, so it's not much. I'm not talking about the foundations here and the electricity. That is the hard work. But I'm talking about the software here, like curtains, some furniture, Venusian things. So it's a good time for you to rethink maybe beautifying your home, for instance. Could be as simple as that. You're going back to your home country if you're living in another country. Could be that as well. And rekindling connections with parents. So it's a lot about, it's that time where you, for instance, finding albums and, you're going back into time. And there is some childhood uh, wounding that you're healing here by seeing yourself in a new way. Then this Venus goes back into your third house, where the Pisces energy is, and with Neptune and the North Node and whatnot. So this is the house, this is a more social house. It's the house of your siblings, the house of your neighbors, the house of communicating, short trips, learning and learning skills. So there is a reviewing here. Of course, as it is the house of those relationships, there could be a letting go of a certain way that you relate with siblings and so on. And because you dissolve that and you heal that, you can go towards a more anchored energy with Venus in your fourth house. Could be as simple as that. For others, it's about you're releasing and you're pondering about love, because Venus is love, the third house is thinking. You're thinking about love, and there's aspects to it that you want to shift. And so there could be a lot of communication around love. And so that's a beautiful thing as well. There could be finding love on the internet, Venus in the third house. And but whatever it is, it's about the letting go of an old way. So could mean that, for instance, you're thinking about your communication style. Maybe you need to shift that to have more real connection with yourself and with others, something like that. Or some of you will say, look, my old website, Venus in the third, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to do a new one, or I'm not going to do one anymore. Or I'm going to just shift my energy around, focusing maybe too much on siblings and focusing a little bit more on myself, and so on and so on. But it's a very internal thing that has to do with family, that has to do also with knowledge and the way that you communicate. You could go back in the Piscean time to making a short trip to a place that you've been before, and there having a feeling of release. Aquarians, this is happening in your third house. This Venus retrograde in Aries, which goes in a sextile to your energy, so that's nice. And then it goes into your second house of Pisces. So let's start with the third house. Venus in the third house is reassessing a couple of things. It's reassessing connections. Which connections? Siblings, neighbors, people that you have a coffee with every now and then in the neighborhood. That's third house connections. So a revisiting of that. So that could mean like, in a way, am I still content towards how what my value and what the give and the take is in those connect. Maybe you're giving too much to your neighbors. Or maybe you are taking too much from neighbors or siblings, and you reassess now, I have to kind of do something back. Or the other way around, you are giving way too much and they are giving nothing. So this is a time of you reassessing those relationships to improve it. On another level, the third house is short trips, so you might be going back to a place that you already have been. And it's a revisiting, and because you like it and you want to do this in a fresh way. And you've always wanted it. For instance, you went there when you were younger and now you want to go to that place again. Venus in the third house. Venus in the third house is also communication and thinking about what? Venusian things. Love. So you could be also reassessing love in your mind, in your logical mind, that is. Not necessarily of seeing the bigger picture and spiritual and whatnot. No, it's really down to earth. What are the facts and the figures of my relationships? And you're thinking about it and you're reassessing it to have a more honest relationship with yourself and with others. And then it shifts back into your second house, where Pisces is at the end of March up until the end of April. So Venus in the second house, and especially now with that letting go energy of the Pisces, a good time, it's almost going to be healing for you if you declutter. Decluttering would be a very good thing for you, and deciding to give things away or to sell things if you want to have a little bit more money or a lot of money. If it's big things that you want to sell, maybe your car or whatever, but it's your assets. The second house is your assets, and it's a good time to reevaluate what is important for you. I mean, your belongings, also the money that you earn, to reassess that, because it shows here that there's a letting go of something that is not working for you anymore. And if you're going to do that, and if you're going to detach yourself a little bit from that, you can be way more strong in the mind and in the logic and in the head, mentally, in that third, when Venus goes into that third house, and communicate more from the heart and how you want to express yourself. So Venus in the second house is also your confidence. So there's a part of it that that needs to have some healing. So the confidence, if it's, for instance, low of a particular reason, there is energy here available to heal that and to work on that by contemplating, by going within, not by just doing all these active stuff, but by going within and looking at yourself. Beautiful. Pisceans, last but not least, this is starting in your second house and then goes back into your first house. So when Venus is in Aries, it's going to be in your second house. So this is ultimately the part of your chart that has an opportunity to improve. And certainly when Venus will go direct in Aries at the end of April, beginning of May. And that is, first of all, your finances. Your finances, your assets, that's all your second house, your self-worth. So there's possibility of improvement here. Now, it starts when the Venus is in Aries and it goes backwards. That can mean that your situation can become a little bit more like, ooh, it's not okay here. I'm reassessing my belongings, my money, my value. It's not okay for some reason. And it's a very, very good time for you to declutter. It's a very good time for you to the things that are no longer serving you. It's typically like, yeah, I like it, I don't like it. I haven't been using it for the last 5 years. I'm going to give it away, put it away, sell it, whatever. But I'm going to make space for new belongings when Venus goes direct in my second house, that I have the things that I love and that are matching my energy. And typically what you can do is to thank that object for all the years it has been serving you. Maybe it was a car, maybe it's a computer, maybe it's clothes and books and plates and cups and whatever. And that energy, it's a very energy shift there. So if you are someone who says, I want to have more abundance, well, it's by, I think it's called isn't it something Japanese as well, or they do that in production systems like leaning. Like first it's throw away what you don't need. It's in the closet, right? So you have more space and so on. It's very simple, but it's that. It's that, do that. On another level, it's your self-worth. So you could be having some self-worth issues at this particular moment, but don't worry. It's about going within so that you can become stronger and build up the confidence in a more authentic, real, honest, Aries kind of way. So it can also mean your self-esteem is, for instance, low because you don't have a lot of money at this particular moment, the job is not paying well and whatnot. So it can mean that your situation gets worse first with the retrograde, but it's to mobilize you. And first of all, to detect what the real reason is why you're working for that job, for instance, and you're doing all the best, and you're working so hard and you're not getting any money. Maybe you are deciding for yourself that you're not worthy of it. You're not worthy of money. And that is what you're going through. You're going through that healing when the Venus is going back into your first house. That is healing of the self. A tremendous amount of healing is going to be going on for the Pisceans. It's the self-love and the letting go of parts of you that it's shedding off the skin. Venus, Neptune, and North Node there. And it's new connections and new relationships as well. You're one of them that can attract new people because you are shifting so much. And then when Venus goes back into that second house of yours, you're creating more self-worth. And because your self-worth is bigger, you're going to attract more money. You're going to attract the things that are more good for you and appealing for you. So it's about the inner work, like, am I not, why is it that I'm not having that much money? It's really being honest about yourself. If that is the case, of course, you say, Veerle, I have a lot of money. Good for you. And it might be something like food that you're taking in and that you don't want to take in anymore. The second house is the food you take. So, and that is what is shifting. But for a lot of people, it will be a sense of scarcity and abundance. What is the fact that the things that I do have, I'm not content with it anymore? How can I let go of that? It's by healing yourself. It's a lot of healing work on the self that no one can do for you, only you. And your connection with the divine, of course. But it's you where it starts because you are the solution. For sure, for sure, for sure. And so you're going to, for a lot of you, there will be new ways of attracting your own money, especially around the end of April, beginning of May. If you really re-examine, so for some of you, it's simply by, let's say you have your own business, or maybe even if you don't have your own business, but that you're doing something wrong financially, and the Venus retrograde in the second house is simply going to an accountant and asking and exploring and seeing things, what is really going on there? What can I do about it to improve my situation? These things are the Venus retrograde. What do I value? What is very, very important for me? What do I truly need to see here. And very beautiful for the Pisceans, very beautiful, because ultimately it gives you more money, it gives you more abundance, it gives you more confidence, and a healthy confidence that is, and that's a beautiful thing. Anyway, having said that, and relationships as well. You could also let go of certain relationships for sure as well. If you say, oh, I'm in such a toxic relationship and I've been trying to end it and I was just not ready, this is a good energy. This is an energy of course, depending on your situation. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I wish you the best Venus retrograde ever. Till next time. Bye-bye.